Hi, this is Brian Hegney, instructor of Game and Interactive Media Design. This is the third video in a series of videos showing us how to make a barrel, a high poly, low poly barrel to bring into a game engine. This next step is we are going to copy this stave a few times, but I need to do a little bit of planning. Basically, we're going to be making the length of the barrel that we will then bend around to create the circular barrel. So it's like we're going to be laying out our staves along the ground. Now, what we won't have to do is consider how staves are actually made, and I'll show this to you. Stave barrels. Barrel staves. I should have written barrel staves. Oh, there's a good one. Whoops. There, right there. So if you notice, can we look at this in big? Let's see if we can look. Yeah. So a stave is going to be shaped like this. It's going to be fatter in the middle. Even the ones without the bunghole. It's going to be fatter in the middle, thinner at the top. And that's because the way a barrel is made, well, I should have done this. Open link in new tab. The way a barrel is made is it's wider in the middle and skinnier at the top. So the area is less at the top than in the middle. So yes, the middle has to cover more area with the same number of staves. So of course that means it's going to be thicker there. All right. We're not going to worry about that because our bend modifiers will take care of that dimension at the end. So our staves are going to actually be the same dimension the whole time. Just in case you were curious why we weren't actually going to be modeling it correctly, you'll see how that works. So let me take a look at what we have here. Okay, so we've got a turbo-smoothed stave, that's right. And I think that's going to be good enough. My question is, am I happy with these corners? And I think I am. Do I want to increase that to 2? I kind of do, and I think I'm going to actually edit the stave a little bit more by moving the edge loops, and I'm going to turn off wireframe, and I'm going to be moving the edge loops probably there. And I want this edge to be not so sharp. So again, I am going between, as I say all the time, I'm going between edged faces and default lighting and toggling on and off there the end results in my stack. Turn on, so probably I might not need this one. I'm gonna keep it. You know what? I'm gonna show you just a moment some things to do. Now, if I want to get rid of this edge loop that I made in the last section, right? You may want to get rid of edge loops. So you may double click your edges to select the entire edge loop, and you might think you want to hit the delete key. Well, watch what happens. Delete. That is not good. I just deleted part of the faces. And you might want to do that sometimes, so I'm going to hit Command Z because I don't want to do it here. So then I want you to note that you could hit backspace, but we're not going to hit just backspace. We're going to hit Control backspace, and I'm going to show you why. If I hit backspace, it looks good. It looks like it deleted that, and then when I turn on Show End Result, oh, actually, this doesn't look good at all. I'm actually going to need... Why is that? There's something going on right there that is not good. Oh yeah, I know what. I know what it is. So if I did that, go into your vertex mode, turn off show end result. What happens is we have all of the vertices that used to be connected to that edge loop are still remaining. And as you know, this is now not a quad. This is a 6-sided polygon, which is not good. Okay, so you could go around and delete every single one of those verts, but you're not going to. That would be ridiculous. I'm going to Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Now I'm going to go back into edge mode, that is selected. Let me just ensure that by clicking off of it, double clicking on it, and I'm going to hold down Control Backspace. I'm actually going to see if that... Oh, now it looks beautiful. And it looks beautiful because I'm not dealing with those terrible n-gons. Go into vertex mode to see the verts. Yay, all of the verts were deleted. So if you ever want to get rid of any type of, well, I guess an entire edge loop, you would double click it, hold down Control and Backspace. Not delete, not backspace, but Control Backspace. And that's how you're going to delete that. Okay. And now I think that looks a little bit better. I like this a little bit better for my stave. Okay. Now let's go ahead and we are going to... Oh, there we go. Come here. Yay. Now I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to instance it. I think I'll instance it. A whole bunch of times, and so I have to figure out how many times am I going to instance it. So I'm going to go back and look at my picture of a barrel, like this one, and I might count, like, how many staves will there be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There might be 12, maybe 10 along here, so I'm going to guess 10. That might be a nice number. And if I guess 10 for half of it, that will be 20. And that will be roughly 20? I think 20 is fine. It's nicely divisible by 4, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to hold down, go back to here. I'm going to go into my top viewport. Because when I clone it, I'm going to want to make sure that it's not overlapping, because I want there to be a little bit of space between the staves, and it's not too far away. So I'm going to go into my top viewport where I can exactly see, and you know what? I'm going to cancel that, because I actually want to zoom in a little bit closer, and I want to turn off, I want to go into wireframe mode by tapping F3, there. Hold down Shift, look at it again. There we go. I think that's good. Let go of my mouse button. Let go of Shift. And I'm going to instance this so they can all update at the same time together. And I'm going to give myself 19 because 1 plus 19 equals 20. And say OK. And now I have 20 staves in a row. Okay, there we go. The last thing I want to do before I group all of these together is I'm going to, what should I do? I'm going to move a couple of these up and down. And the reason for doing that, let me just grab a couple. I'm holding down Control just to grab a group, and then I'm going to go into tap W and move them all like down just a little bit. Is that too much? That's a little bit too much. So I'm going to show you something. Notice you when you have a whole group of things selected, oh, I guess I could put in, like, I can't spin the Z value because all of their Z values could be different. I could tap in, like, 1, and that will move them all upwards in the Z direction 1 unit, right? But the other thing I could do is right-click the Select and Move tool, and here we have offsetting and absolute. So it doesn't say it's XYZ value. Watch what happens when I click off of everything and click one of them. It gives me its world position, which is XYZ 83.202, Y is 0.291, and Z is 1. But then it gives me the offset. So if I want this Z to be at 0, it will go down to 0. That's great. Hit Control Z. Okay. But notice offset is all at 0, 0, because this is if you want to move it by a certain amount. So if I want to move Z by, like, if I want to move X just in the positive direction of 5 centimeters, I can hit that, and now it goes from 83.202 to 88.202. So there's just a few different ways of moving objects. I'm going to go back to the point where I have all of them, And now I'm actually able to spin this, use the Z spinner, because I'm offsetting whatever their dimensions are by just a little bit. Okay. That's fine. I'm going to select a couple other. And by doing this, I'm going to be basically... Let me hit F so I can go in here, just to make sure they're not offset by too much. I'm basically... Let's see. Come on. Why is that not working? Oh, because it's Y now. Okay. Let me do that. And if there are any that are like too much, I'm going to put back. This is going to give a nice non-perfect setup for my staves. I don't want them to be absolutely perfect because that is telling of, you know, computer-generated stuff. I want them to be slightly imperfect. There we go. So I'm selecting each one and kind of going into my front view. And notice, well, I'll mention, let me take a moment to note this here because I have just a couple more minutes. As I'm doing this, if I go into perspective view or orthographic view, notice this Z arrow, my little Z gizmo for my move. Z is up. If I tap F and go into my front view, Y is up. And that's because one of the orthographic settings, or one of the coordinate settings up here, is for view. And it's going to change my XYZ based on my view. Okay? So if I go into front view, X is always left and right, Y is always up, right? So left and right is X. But if I go into my left view, okay, now going forward and backwards is X and up is Y. And if I go into P, perspective view, up changes to Z. That's because they're all set to view. Now if I change my view to, or my ortho, my coordinate system from view to world, okay, that changes nothing here in perspective. But if I go to front view and it's set to world, look, Z is now up. If I go into left view and go into world, Z is up. That's great. So in case you're wondering about the coordinate system, it defaults to view. I personally hate that. I prefer to be in world view until I need to go into local view, which we'll get to later, in which case I switch it to local. We'll probably only use local and world through this tutorial. Okay. Now that I have them all set, I think that's a decent setup going on here. I am going to select all of these, and I am going to select them using, I'm going to change my selection mode here. So right now it's set to this rectangular selection region, and I just don't like that. It's fine for right now, but I'm going to change it to lasso. But before I do that, notice I don't have to select all of the plank to select every plank. And that's because the next thing you have to note, besides the type of selection, is how you're going to select it using window or crossing. So it's this little button at the top underneath the word modifier. If you have this set to windowed mode, you have to select the entirety of an object in order for it to be selected. This is going to change. You're going to change this back and forth depending on how you're using it, how many objects are in your scene, etc. So I'm going to set this to crossing mode because I can use crossing, and I'm going to set this to lasso because I like lasso. And to change it, you just have to change the selection mode, you just have to hold your mouse button down, and I'm gonna set to lasso, and then I can draw a little thing, and there we go. I didn't have to do it all, actually. I could just cross everything, and that's good. With everything selected, I'm gonna go up to group them, and I'm gonna call this barrel staves. Hit enter, and now we have a group. It's just one object or one group, and I can move it. Yay. And I'll be able to apply modifiers to it as a group. Alright, next video, we are going to bend this sucker into a barrel. Hope you had fun. Bye.